Aloha guys, this is Dr. Steve. This is chapter 14, which is actually the last chapter in our textbook on web development and design foundations with HTML5. This chapter is a brief look at JavaScript and jQuery. There will be a second lecture, of course, that goes over the walkthrough of the student data files. This one is the PowerPoint. We're going to look at some common uses of JavaScript. We're going to look at the document object model. This is really important, the DOM, D-O-M. We'll do some simple JavaScript, very simple ones. We'll talk about variables, operators, if control structures. We'll do a very basic form validation. We'll look at common uses of jQuery, that sort of thing, how to use and obtain jQuery. We'll look at selectors and methods, and when we get to the student data files, we'll do an image gallery, and we'll look at some jQuery plugins, other uses of jQuery. Okay, so what is JavaScript? First of all, it is not Java. It is not Java Lite. It is an object-based scripting language. So in that sense, it is similar to Java in that it is object-oriented. It works with objects on a web page, so it is made to work with web pages. So the objects that it would typically work with are the window, the document, and other elements such as forms, images, hyperlinks, etc. It's originally developed by Netscape, and I think it was originally called LiveScript. Okay, and then Netscape went into Sun Microsystems, and then LiveScript became JavaScript. And as I said earlier, it's not Java. It's an unfortunate name. So common things you can do. You can display messages. You can do navigation. You can edit and validate forms. You can create new windows, rollovers. Right, lots of fun with those. Status messages, current date, very common. Calculations, very common. So, okay, so what can we do here? So first of all, JavaScript code usually goes between script tags, right? So the script tag is an HTML tag, and all the JavaScript goes in between those two script tags. So then the browser knows, oh, everything in between is JavaScript. Doesn't have to. It can also be attached as part of an event. In an HTML element, but most of the time it's in the script tag. But the real simple ones can be attached to an event, and I'll show you shortly. Here's an example using a script element. Here's the container tag. You see the example here. We have the script. We have the attribute type. You see it's a text JavaScript, and then the actual script statement itself. And all we're going to say here is alert. That's going to do a little a modal pop-up, and it's going to say welcome to our site. So you can see the syntax here. You have alert, and you have parentheses, and you have quotes, then the actual words themselves, and at the very end of the statement, at the end of all JavaScript statements, you have a semicolon, okay? Then the end of the script tag, okay? So, hey, first part. So we looked at some uses of JavaScript. We looked at the blocks. Just got one method we could use this. Okay, let's move on. The DOM. This is probably the most important thing here about JavaScript, is that you're always dealing with the document object model. The document object model defines every object and element on a web page. It is a hierarchical structure, and you can access these various page elements and apply styles to the page elements. You can make them do different things. And you can define the elements. Remember, we have these classes and IDs, so we can define things, and then we can make them do things. Very cool. Okay, so an object is a thing or entity. It could be a browser window, a submit button, a web page, document, any number of things. And we have properties, right? We always have properties and then methods. So we have properties. It could be a background color, the date, the source, all kinds of properties we can address. And then the methods are the things that they can do. right? So what can it do? So we can write, we can submit. So here you see the syntax of document, write, form 1, submit. Every form gets a number, right? Every form on a web page gets a number. Form 1, form 0, form 1, form 2 becomes kind of an array of the form tag. Okay, so JavaScript and events. Now, JavaScript is an event-driven language. JavaScript starts up on some event. So it could be a click, it could be placing the mouse on an element, it could be removing the mouse, it could be loading the page, unloading the page, any number of events. But when an event happens, then the script kicks in. So it is an event-driven language. Now here's a list of some events and the event handler, which basically means the what JavaScript understands. So a click is on click, load, unload, etc., right? You can see how it works. So JavaScript can be configured to perform any number of actions when events occur. So the event name can be coded as an attribute of an HTML tag, right? We talked about that a little bit earlier. And we can have that show up automatically. Remember the alert thing we did earlier? So we can have it show up automatically as a kind of an attribute of the tag. So here we have the tag is A, right? It's an anchor tag. We have an attribute href. So this is the where it's located. And then here's another attribute on mouse over. We can understand from our event handlers earlier that on mouse over is when the mouse goes over this. So when the mouse goes over whatever the words are, in this case it's going to be the word home, an alert box is going to show up, and here it's going to say click to go home. Now you'll notice here it's single quotes. Now with JavaScript you can actually do single or double quotes depending upon the circumstances, and they're both good. Debugging, because hey, you always make little mistakes. You got to pay real close attention to upper and lower case, letters, spaces, quotations. You just need to be consistent. It will accept everything, but you have to be consistent. That's the most important thing. You can do lots of different validations of JavaScript. Make sure it's written correctly. You can go to the Air console. This will help you troubleshoot. All the browsers have something similar as a console. This one here shows you a Firefox. Okay, you should be able to understand the differences. Event and event handler. Where are these things placed? Again, part of an attribute, right? Okay, like all languages, right? In computer languages, we can have things like variables, right? So here's real simple syntax. You can do this a number of different ways. This is the it's a little long, but it's easy to understand. So here we're going to declare a variable. So we say variable user name. Notice the capital N. You must be consistent in this. Using camel case is an easy way to read. So then we're going to say the contents of username is going to equal this string called Karen. So the string is in double quotes, and there's a semicolon at the end of each of the lines. And then we're going to say document. Now we're going to do a method here, document.write. So we're going to write in the document the username, that is the variable, and it will come out as Karen. And again, semicolon at the end. Okay, this kind of thing is extremely common. Now, besides that alert, we had things like other kinds of modals called a prompt. It's very common. You see this all the time. So it displays a message and accepts a value from the user. So it has a little box there, right? A little field to accept input. So my name. All right. Now this is another way of declaring the variable. We're just starting right out. My name, so it's doing a variable, equals then prompt the contents of what you get in that prompt. Now the prompt message is whatever words you want to say. It could be please write your name. It doesn't matter. But in any case, it's stored in that variable called my name. JavaScript, like other languages, have arithmetic operators. There are ones that are pretty common. You have an equal sign, so it assigns a value. You have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. You have comparison. Okay, not arithmetic, but comparison. Okay, now double quotes, a little bit different. So the quantity is the same as 10. Okay, greater than equals, less than equals, and the exclamation equals, which is not equal to. Okay, not equal to. So the quantity is not equal to 10. So 8, 9, 11 would all be true because they don't equal 10. It's the very bottom here. Decision making, you always have if in any kind of a language. So if a condition is true or else, do something else, right? Notice the syntax here. If the condition is in parentheses, left curly brace, then all the commands that are to meet the condition, then the right curly brace, then the else, left curly brace, the commands executed if the condition is false, and then a right curly brace. Okay, so it all follows the same syntax with the brackets and the braces. So please be careful about this. It's one of the more common mistakes. Then functions. Now you can create your own functions. We had methods before; those were already kind of built in. Now a function is something that you create, and then you can execute. So here's a. We're gonna. It's not necessary to do this, but we're going to have a create a function called show alert, and now we're defining, and then the left and right brackets, parentheses. So we're not passing any values on initially, so it starts off with no content. Then the left curly brace. So this is where we begin all the statements, and the only one statement here is the alert. Please click OK to continue. And that's all the stuff here is usually going to be in the script tag in the head of your document or in a separate document. And then you need to call that function within the body of your web page, and you would just call the function. The function is called show alert. So you just go show alert, and you don't need to pass anything on because everything is done in the statements. Okay. Here's a little example of a kind of a validation. We're going to do that shortly. And here's form validation. Now you can write very easy form validations, or you can write very complex. Obviously, the more complicated you make it, the better the validations are. When you're trying to validate form fields, you really do want to make them as good as you can here. So you can check to see if a name is entered. You can check to see if the email address is formatted correctly. You can check to see if a phone number is formatted correctly. Those are common types of validations. So here's a simple kind of thing. Okay, here we can use the double quotes to show a null, right? So that's nothing, right? To check if a form field has something in it. So here we go. So if the document form 0, again, we're using the square brackets because this is basically a kind of array. The document it creates an array of all the different forms in that document. The first one is 0. So the document forms, the first one, which is 0, the username, and the value is equivalent to nothing. So it's checking to see if there's anything in that field called username. So then here's your left curly brace, and now all the statements. So alert, field name cannot be empty. So basically they're saying if this is true, then alert, create an alert that says name field cannot be empty, and then return false, which basically means begin again, and check again, right? And then this the double the right curly brace and the double forward slashes are your comments. This is how you're going to write your comments, a double forward slash in the end of the if statement. Okay, that's just to tell you as a programmer this is what you're doing here. Now, unfortunately, you can't control, I should say, you cannot control whether or not a person has turned JavaScript on or off. So it might not function for every visitor. So some people have it disabled, or some people might not be able to even click on a mouse. So you have to provide some way of providing accessibility. And one way of doing it is to create just plain text links, or to have something like an email contact information, that sort of thing. Okay, you should be familiar with form data validation. We're going to do that with the walkthrough with the student data files. It's just not always going to work. Sorry. Let's take a look at jQuery. We're going to get back to JavaScript itself on the student data files. I want to talk a little bit about jQuery here. Now, what jQuery basically is, it's a library of JavaScript. So jQuery is JavaScript. So it's a shorthand, if you will. Okay, it's an easy way of doing things in JavaScript without knowing all these different things. So all those different functions you can create, like the form validation, that kind of thing, you can have them already exist somewhere, either on your site or on another site, and you don't have to write everything over and over again if you already know this function has been vetted and works extremely well. And that's basically what jQuery is a set of vetted functions that you can just call, at your convenience. And with those jQuery functions, you can dynamically manipulate cascading style sheet properties, detect, react to events, animate elements, and tons of other things. jQuery and jQuery Mobile are incredibly cool. Now you can download everything on jQuery by just going to this jQuery.com/download and then host it on your own site, and you can control it, as it were. Or you can just use a CDN, a content delivery network, such as Google or Microsoft or any number of these things out there. There's some listed in your textbook. And all you have to do is tell your browser where the CDN is, and you would do that in your script tag. As example here, it says script source equals blah, 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 and then whatever into the script. Okay, now jQuery. We're still talking about jQuery. Now, one of the things you have to do with jQuery is a little funny, is that you have to tell the browser that you're ready to use jQuery. Okay, and you do that with what's called the ready statement, or the ready function. Sorry. So all jQuery begins this way. Now you can use the word jQuery, or you can abbreviate it with that $sign. And that's all that $sign is doing. It's just abbreviating for ease of use. So instead of writing jQuery, you just go $sign. So you say $sign, the document, which is this document right here, ready function, and then that's it. And then you can have all your other statements after that. But the first thing you have to do is tell the browser, hey, get ready, we're going to use jQuery. And just kind of a heads up. All right, here's an example of an alert in jQuery. You can do this. We already showed you how you can do it in JavaScript a couple different ways. Here's another way of doing it in jQuery. Here we have the document, the ready function. So we have the document ready function, then there's the alert, and then the end of the script tag. So it displays the alert when the page loads. Now this is going to be kind of a cool thing you got to pay attention to, is when different things show up, and we'll talk about that more later. Selectors, basically anything you can do in cascading style sheets, you can access and manipulate in jQuery. You can use an asterisk as a wildcard. You can do any kind of HTML elements, any kind of classes, any IDs, any contextual selectors, any pseudo classes like the li first, li odd at the bottom of this list here. So you can address all of these things, and you can manipulate their properties and values. And of course, you can also do the various methods here. The click, you can do the fade toggles, which we're going to get into a little bit later, the hover, slide toggles, attributes, HTML. You're going to see how much fun this stuff is. So here's, again, this is an example we're going to use in the student data files. So here's the jQuery ready function, and then we're going to write a little one line basically. Again, the dollar sign. So again, every statement in jQuery you have to begin with the dollar sign, and then the parentheses, single quotes. Actually, single or double work. So it's the anchor element. So when it's clicked, then we're going to run this function. We're not going to pass anything on, and the function is going to be, again, dollar sign. So the even list items, the CSS, we're going to change the color. That's the foreground, or not the background, but the actual color of the text to whatever that 0066. So it's red, green, blue. So it's going to be green, okay? Every even element. And we look at the example here, and we see that Pekingese and Border Collie were changed to green. Why are those even? Yes, 0. The counting begins with a 0. 0 is an even number. Huh. Didn't know that, huh? 0 is an even number. Okay. And we have toggle. Toggle is real nice. You will use this a lot. Toggle is like a switch on for your lights, right? It's up or down, one way or the other, and whatever it was before, it changes it to the other. That's all the toggle means. Okay, so and use this a lot for the show ready show function. So here we have more. You see this all the time. You click on the more, and then something is shown. So in this case, it's details. So the details ID is shown. The toggle basically is to show or not show. And we can use this a lot in image galleries. Oh, God, you will have great fun with this. We'll look at this code more in the student data files walkthrough. jQuery plugin, no surprise. You can add a lot of other resources that are already created out there, and at the Photorama is one of the examples in our student data files, and also the validation stuff. Oh man, you can use all of that, save yourself a lot of time and effort. Stuff has already been written and vetted. And gee, that's really about it, guys. I know it was a little bit long. We're going to get into more of it, the content, the actual code in the next lecture on the student data files walkthrough. Aloha, take care.